we should be streaming. Okay. All right. Okie dokie. Sorry about that. That took forever. It took way longer than I thought it'd be. So let me just do this one little part so I can get, well, I'll send to them later. I don't think anybody's going to watch it live, so I'll send only to it after class. And then what we do is we post it in, it's on YouTube. So if you guys can't be here for one of the weeks, it's cool. You guys can watch it later.
Okay.
And that's how I do that for this exact reason, because I schedule it and I can never get everybody here at once. Yeah. Last time we did this was at the end of, we did 21, 22, and I had probably 8 people in the class that time, so 6 to 8. I want to say 8. And it was, I would have 4 or 5 in class, and there would always be 2 or 3 gone or whatever, so it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, make everybody happy.
Try and make everybody happy, and the schedules are tough, and trying to find time to do it, and you know, we've been doing this. We start, Pastor and Pastor Chris and Pastor Hal started this lay ministers, man, probably I want to say 8, 10 years ago, and
yeah, I've never been in a church where they actually did this and trained them.
Yep. You just say you it.
Like group leaders or Sunday school teachers, the old saying.
Right.
If you were be on the board, you got voted on.
Mm-hmm.
The church vote, so.
But it's good to know how to do it.
That's good to know how to do it. So
I said to him, I go, how do you know what to do?
yeah. So the lay ministers training, and we're going to go over what's involved with it, all that fun stuff. And so we'll do today. And then how this works out. It's six sessions of training. It's like an hour and a half for each. Like 45 minutes per. So and it varies a little bit. So we just like 6 hours, maybe a little more or less than that. But when we're done with today, we're done. I'm going to go long. I ain't going to bore you. You know, I don't. It used to be 8 lessons. I go, I don't need 8 lessons. I can do this in 6. We're done.
Right.
And so then there's other training that we do too. So we'll talk about that also. And then how this all works and how it all, how all the nuts and bolts of it, the ideas behind it. But it's a good thing. We've had probably, right now we have a roster of current lay ministers is probably, I want to say 7 people, 8 people. But I've had probably 15, 20 go through the training there still. But when there was 2 or 3 that I invited, I said, hey, come do the training, because I revised the training a couple years ago. And they go, well, I can't commit this year for whatever reason. And so, but we have a lot of people done it, but they say, I'm going to bow, because each year we renew the lay ministers. So when you guys are done, then we'll take those folks that were previously served, and then we'll get you added to the roster, and then we present everybody for the year. These are lay ministers for the year. Some people in lay ministers, they've moved on to the board, they moved on to elders or whatever, and that's fine too. So that's how we kind of do it.
In the church, the old theory I always heard was 20% of the people do 80%
of the work. Yep, exactly. 20% of people do 80% of the work, and that's about right.
So Nancy and Ken are elders?
They're elders.
Okay.
So elders are Nancy and Ken Johnson, Frank and Ida Mistretta, Pat Vandenberg, Art Jones. LS Sexton, but was thinking about maybe pulling up because of his health right now, but he hasn't officially come off. But he's an elder, but he's not been very active because he's been so sick. Doing well. I saw him Thursday. He's doing really, really well, and he'll probably be here Sunday. No, he had major cancer surgery on his pancreas, and they took out his good portion of his pancreas and took out his another part. And so he's been laid up for almost since the first of the year, and so it was in a hard healing process. Yeah.
He got it when he was 80. They wanted to do all that. He
Yep.
said, I'm 80 years old.
Yeah.
He said, well, they're going to live about 3 months.
Yep.
He said, well, he lived over 5 years.
Yeah.
Died in his sleep. Had no pain.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wow.
Just,
That's awesome.
he just asked God to take care of him.
Yep, and that's the way to do it. So that's the elders. Then the lay ministers are Jeanette. I don't count those, but there's a list of those. So all of that, we have a good amount of team of people that help us do different things, and they're the core ones that we ask to do a lot of stuff. So as far as what we call the pastoral care of the church. So let's kind of go over that a little bit and explain to you guys how it all works and because this is the train of it. Then when we're all done, then you can say, no, we don't do this. Okay. Then we'll go from there. All right. So
Michelle said she wasn't sure she was cut out as what her spiritual gifts are, and I said, well, you don't know till you go and find out.
And well, the thing is, though, is it doesn't take any special spiritual gifts. It's just this. It's making your gifts, helping you understand how your gifts fit in that role. Okay. The role is not always the gifts. So okay, let's get going on this and talk about this some more. So we have, why are you here? What is a lay minister? A lay minister is we'll talk about that. We'll talk about, learn about what lay minister training, and that's today's is kind of what is a lay minister as a whole, and then learn about what a lay minister training is, and then what's the process all involved with all this stuff. So it's really a simple deal. It's, I've designed it, the training wise. We're going to talk, today will be a lot of talk. Next session will be, you guys do some talk and some application stuff. Be a mixture of things. I'm trying to look at this. And it's a real simple deal for us to follow. And it's a process. It'll take some time. It will, but what I find is that I do the training for the purpose of really helping people understand the role, understand how they can be effective, and understand there's some basic skills that we need to kind of always be thinking about. So we'll talk about that. And I worked really hard at trying to figure that out for years. I spent like 2 years trying to think, okay, how can we do this better? And because the training that they had before was a lot of teaching, but it didn't have a good framework to kind of help people kind of navigate all the different circumstances you could find. There's some stuff that lay ministers do. Like their number one thing is they help us pray in services. Because pastor, elders, and lay ministers, that's kind of the thing how it works. Then there's a behind the scenes things that most people don't realize is that we do. The lay ministers will help me do, and elders help me do phone calls, follow-ups, almost every month. Every month there are follow-ups phone calls. We call missing sheep. We call shut-ins. We did right now in this month. Right now, I'm asking all my elders and lay ministers to help do shut-in visits. Go to the homes and pray with people and let them know that we care about them. So I'm doing one a week throughout the month. I'm asking all of them to help me out, and because we have probably like 16 people on our shut-in list that we want to go do home visits. Because a phone call is great, but going in person is really nice.
Yeah, that's all different.
And so we're working on that. But so there's different times. So, but then like we'll have like this year we're doing Scrooge, so there'll be a lot of salvation phone calls and so forth, and follow-ups to do. The lay ministers are one that we call out to and say, hey, help us do this. A lot of it's done via email. That we say this list is who we got to contact, and I'll explain the nuts and bolts of that. And you take a group of people and all that fun stuff, and then there's a wide variety of things we have you do. But there's a basic core skill set that we really want to emphasize. Okay, how do you do this and do it better? A lot of people using Even Chosen, you have some skills already. It's not it's some magical thing. It's just making sure we cover our bases and enhance it better. Okay, so. The schedule. So today, which is the 4th, we're going to talk about session 1. What is lay pastoral care? Which gives you the 8-week training, which is not 8 weeks, 6 weeks. That's a typo. I'm going to fix that. Biblical basis for lay pastoral care. Exercise on affirming your own gifts. Introduction of the ABC method of present intervention. Actually, that's more than lesson 2. And then we'll talk about altar worker basics also. And then the care relationship. We'll talk about the ABC method more specifically in there. Discussion on establishing a relationship, listening, practicing, and attending behaviors. That's kind of fancy words for other stuff we'll talk about. So we'll cover all that today, and that's kind of a real big base of what we do. Then, oh, wait a minute. This is not, I'm like realizing this is not changing on me in the PowerPoint. Okay. Because I'm not playing it right from the beginning. From the current slide. I'm going, why aren't you guys seeing this PowerPoint? Because it's not showing
Do
the
you
PowerPoint.
give, when you go to the houses, do you bring communion with you?
As lay ministers, you don't serve communion.
Okay.
In the services, and we're having some discussion about if elders can serve communion, but not lay ministers.
Okay.
Only, and that's one thing. And we'll talk about nuts and bolts of that. For anointing of oil, that is elders and pastors, not lay ministers. They just pray. And there's reasons for that.
No.
Right. So and please ask. There's no such thing as a wrong question. There's always good questions. Nothing but good questions. So on the 11th, okay, now I'm like, why am I not seeing this? I'm going, boy, okay. On the 11th, March 11th, and now a lot of the schedule, like I used to do like every first Saturday, but my schedule, because on the 5th, the week before that, we're going to go see my grandbaby, so in Illinois. But we'll talk about listening and responding, and then week 4, we'll talk about hospital and shut-in visitation. That'll be a big part of what we do. Encourage, we like last. It's kind of funny because during COVID, that wiped out home visits and shut-ins and visits and hospital calls, and you think it would have picked up. It picked up a little bit in 22, but not that much. Then at the end of last year in December, I had probably 10, 12 people in the hospital doing 2 or 3 at a time. And we're into that mode again where we're doing a lot of hospital calls right now. I had probably 11. I keep a list. There's a whole system of stuff that we do. And you'll see a little bit of that. I'll probably print out like a copy of the shut-in sheet, the hospital care sheet that we keep. That's all online. And then the mission sheet, shut-in, and hospital care. Those are the 3 that we focus on quite a bit. And then they follow the same format with the new conference.
Is there any way that you have, that the church has, of seeing who's watching the service on weekends?
It's really hard for us to know. That's one of the big frustrations. We know our estimates. And when people watch online, our estimates about 150 to 200 seat each week. But there's no way unless they tell us they're watching. We have no idea. They're very, very passive about it, and that's one of the drawbacks. You can on all the platforms. We do our main feed to what's called Vimeo, and that's where they host our videos online, and then send from there to Facebook and YouTube. But there's no way for us to track that at all, and so we just know.
Like here on video or on.
No, yeah, unless you say, "Hey, I'm watching," or they comment, we don't know. Or we and then we see like there's been hits on the video, and that averages about 150 to 200 each Sunday, but we just don't know who they are unless we did the text check-in thing, and that only a few people signed up for that. There's other systems we want to do, but I mean even attendance-wise, we'll explain to you guys the attendance system. If you notice in the same service, maybe if you guys sit more towards the front. But I'll be in the back, and I'll be with my iPad right here, right? And I'm going through who's here. I have a whole long list of the roster.
Stand in the back doors and try to count all the heads.
And so I don't count the heads. I'm looking for people. I'm looking for the Warbies. I'm looking for the Radicalists. I'm looking for the actual people. And then at the end of the month, we get this big report. Okay, who's been missing? So every week, every 2 weeks, I'll look at who's been missing for 3 weeks. That's a missing sheet. We follow up, and that's how we do it. So that's how we keep track of it. But I mean, online, I can't see. And so we try to do. We used to have care pads, fill out a care pad in the pews and pass them along. It was like maybe 20, 30 people. Then do check-in. Do text check-in. That worked for a little while, but I get maybe half a dozen, maybe a dozen on a lucky Sunday. It's not close to our attendance. So, it's a thing we're always trying to do better. Is trying to get people to respond that way. But we just got to count. Okay, you're here, and I got to. But basically, I know whoever. If I don't know who you are. And that's people come in late, leave early, and I can't catch them. And some people, I go, I gotta talk to you, and I'll hunt them down. So we keep track of that stuff. And they're missing sheep. Then we call them. We say, hey, where you at? Some folks we call and hey, I've been sick. But there's a gentleman that we haven't seen it was just 3 weeks. I noticed that he wasn't here. Plus the holidays kind of messed up our system a little bit. And he called Pastor. Hey, I was in the hospital for a week with bad kidney stuff and this and that. I'm really sick. Can you pray for me? Pastor? Oh my gosh. And we didn't know. They didn't call us until after. Most people don't call us, I'm going to have surgery. A lot of people do, but not everybody does. And COVID kind of pushed that. People just didn't feel like, well, how can, because like if you're going for surgery, only one family member can go with you. So what I'll do is I'll meet you at the door when you go in.
That's what happened to us.
Yeah.
Jordan met us at the door.
Yep, and I told him to. Because I'll meet you at the, I'll meet you at the door because we can't go in and see you. Inside, we can't. They don't want you back, especially for surgery stuff. So we do it that way. Now it can be really early sometimes, but we find that the most effective way to do it.
She was a nervous wreck for my surgery.
Yeah.
Well, her dad had gone in the last time she had to do with anything. He had a major stroke on the operating table.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary stuff. It's scary
You
stuff.
never know.
You never know. So the first, we'll talk about care in situations of grief and loss, which we'll talk about that. We'll talk about problem solving and referral. What do you guys do when things get you? So, huh?
On April Fool's Day.
Yeah, it is April Fool's Day, isn't it? Oh wait, I went back. Wait, right.
Yeah.
Oh, April 1st. Yeah, well, this way it landed. Again, it all depends on what my schedule has. I'm teaching because on Saturdays we're doing this right now, and I'm teaching the Bible college courses that we do, and I'll talk to you guys about that, how that can help you out a little bit. And then that's more training you can do, and you have to do it. You have to take the college course. You just kind of tag along and do an audit with it, which is fun. And then and then I'm doing this. So I'm doing, but I got certain weeks I got to block out to do family stuff, like we go to Illinois, Indiana, and all that stuff. So okay, so we talk about grateful layout, and then we'll do problem solving, referral, all the good stuff, and then we'll be good with that. All right, so that's where we're at with that. All right, cool. So the process. Right. Okay. Make sure I make my screen's right here. There's 6 session trainings. There's a lot of instruction, interactive. We'll walk through some stuff, how to do some stuff. You know, when you do a hospital call, what do you do? How do you do it? How long should you stay? How long you should not stay?
Yeah.
You know, the protocol for all those things. It's a unique thing to do. You know, it's just, but it makes. I mean, I had an incident. Pastor came to me and he goes, "Did you know about so and so surgery?" I go, "No." He goes, "They called and they're all mad." I go, "What do you mean? They had surgery and no one, we didn't go visit them. No one came visit them." I go, "I had no clue."
Yeah.
And it was like it was an outpatient surgery, so it wasn't like they were gone for they're only gone for like a Sunday. And no, I go, "No one told us." So he's like, "Well, follow up with them, right?" I go, "Okay, of course I will." So I call him up on the phone. I go, "Hey, I heard your surgery. Yeah, I heard you upset. We didn't go." Yeah, I go, "Well, did you? I don't remember you telling me. Did I miss it? Because usually, if you tell me that you're having surgery, I'll pull out my phone and I'll either email myself or put in my calendar this is surgery date and time and what I'll do, so I don't forget it." And they go, "Well, I didn't tell you. I didn't see you." I go, "Okay, so who did you tell?" And they told, I think maybe an usher,
Right.
and the usher just didn't know. He didn't think it. Okay, I got to tell the pastor that. I go, and I said, "Well, who was the usher?" And they didn't know his name. I kind of figured out who it was. I went to that usher. I go, "Okay, did they talk to you?" He goes, "Yeah, but it wasn't like I was. They were just saying I'm having surgery and I won't be here next Sunday."
Yeah. They
It wasn't
say
like,
pray for-
you know, it wasn't
pray.
make sure pastor knows. And he's like, I go, "Oh my gosh." So I apologize, and they go, "Oh, it's okay, you know, I just, you know," and they said I was just having a bad day or whatever. I was like, "Okay."
You got those things that put in the offering.
And put in. I mean, usually it's verbal. Usually someone says something to me,
Right.
or pastor, or one of our secretaries, or they'll call the office, but mostly they make a comment to me or pastor. "Hey, my surgery's coming up." A lot of times it's like it's coming up. I'm going to have surgery next month, and this is the date. And no one knows the times. And I always say, "Tell me the time you need to be
There's
there."
real time and there's hospital time.
Yeah, because they don't tell you surgery time until the day before. So I said, "Well, call me, text me, then we will go." It's like when you had your surgery, you didn't have your time until the day before. And then I was out of town that time, so I said, "Jordan,
Right.
this is what you do: show up ahead of time, be there, meet up at the door, pray with them, but you got to know ahead of time, stay in contact, and that's how we do it." But when you don't do that, people get really offended,
Yeah.
and it takes.
Everybody wants to matter.
Everyone wants to matter, but it's if one of us just shows up once,
Yeah.
you know, if you're in the hospital for like a week or so, we'll see you pre-surgery, we'll see you a day or two after that if we can, and if you're there for another week, if you're in there for a hospital, we'll try to get to you at least once a week.
Right.
One of us or the hospital care team, which is elders and lay ministers, and just visit with you and pray with you and all that. But it makes a huge difference. But you don't show up at all, but you got to know.
Not to digress here, but a week ago, it's been about a week ago now, a lady bought a new car from Moran's.
Mhm.
She lives up in Palms, Michigan, north
Okay.
of Lexington.
Oh wow, okay.
Unless you're going there on purpose, you're not gonna go there. So, and the salesman, when he was giving me the paperwork and stuff on the car, he said, "I don't know why she's buying this, she's dying." I said, "Dying?" He says, "Yeah, she's got cancer and yada, yada, yada."
Hmm.
So I drove up there and, I mean, she definitely was sickly.
Right.
And, I mean, the car she had she bought an Equinox for an Equinox, but she had them leased, that's why she
Okay.
had them.
Just swap out.
So I talked with her and one thing and another, and I just felt like, man, I should pray with this lady.
Okay.
But I didn't. I just, you never know anymore
Mhm.
what you should do. And I said, "Well, God bless you, and I'll put you on our prayer list."
Mhm.
She says, "Oh, thank you so much." She says, "Prayer really makes a difference."
Mhm.
And she'd been through chemo, and she had all that.
Hmm.
And I got in her car, it was on a religious radio station,
Okay.
that Smile FM.
Yeah. Yep.
And, but I didn't, and so Michelle called me and we chatted, and I told her, and she said, "Well, call her back."
I said, "Do you have a phone number? Call us."
Yeah. So I called her and I said, "Listen, I felt like I should do it when I was there, but I didn't. Do you mind if I pray with you over the phone?" She said, "No, that'd be fine."
Mhm.
So I prayed with her, and I really didn't know what to pray. I just,
Just pray.
yeah. And afterwards, I'm like, okay, this is stupid, da 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 da. But it was just one of those.
She was very thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in the moment.
Yeah. I think when I took over this portfolio, Like like me and Pastor have a rule. If someone goes in the hospital, we just let him know. He lets me know. And then it's like, if you can go. If you can't for some reason, don't worry about it. But we got to make sure we cover it. So a lot of times I'll go, then he will go, and then we'll both show up. Every once in a while, we'll both show up at the same time, which is odd, but it'll happen. But we always like, huh?
So then you feel double.
Then you feel double. Exactly. You feel, how can you go wrong carrying too much? How can you go wrong praying too much? How can you go wrong? You can't. So whatever, as many contacts as we can make, the better. Like a missing sheep, I'll call him the limit. I mean, some folks, you get voicemail after voicemail after voicemail. You never know what it's going to do. It's so funny. I won't hear people. I won't see people for like 2 months. We'll call them. We'll do all this stuff. You go. There's like a 3-month process. You don't show up. You get a phone call. Next month you get another phone call. We'll keep calling for 3 months. After 3 months, you're gonna say, okay, no word. Sure enough, month 3 they show up. Yeah, you called me. I go, well, why didn't you respond 2 months ago? But whatever. But it is what it is. It's the nature of people. And there's a certain people that's always going to be that's our nature. So, okay. So the process, we go through the 6 session trainings during this time. The reason that we kind of spread it out a little bit is that you're going to get the opportunity to be involved in ministry. So, I'll let you know when, but helping out as altar workers, assisting in different areas, helping out. That's all part of the process. So you may be called upon. I may say probably this week, probably after this month, but next month, I'll put you guys on the list and we'll have you guys involved. Like when I do believe, because the way training works out, you guys will help do follow up from, like if we have a lot of follow up from Shuttlesworth, you'll be on the call list to make the new conference calls for that. When we do hospital calls, if I'm like doing hospital calls, I'll say, hey, I'm going. You want to come with? Yeah. Just to tag along because
I'm free a lot.
Okay, and that's cool.
During the day, I just sit around and watch TV, all the old ones.
Why I'm at work.
Why? But she's not bitter about it, is she?
No, not at all.
Does he cook and clean?
He cleans.
He cleans.
I'm
All
not
right.
a cook.
You're not a cook. My son works at home. He does really well doing design and stuff for back end for a big marketing firm in Chicago, and so it's all online. So he stays in his jam. He works from on his computer all day, and he's a great cook. So he does all the cooking. She does all the cleaning though. That's kind of how it works out. And then he got a baby, so now he does more cleaning.
I'm 13 years older than her. I said, I've done my.
Yeah, you done. Yeah.
I got 30 years on the road. I mean, I was 75,000 miles minimum a year.
Wow.
And at one point, when I was in Georgia, I covered Georgia, Florida, and Alabama, hitting all the Home Depot stores.
Okay. Wow.
Because we had their corporate account, and I could train their people.
Okay. Wow. Cool. So there's additional training. We'll talk about that and at the end today, and you guys how that all works out, what you guys can get involved with. What is the lay minister at Lakeside? The purpose. The lay ministers are an extension of the pastor and elders of Lakeside Assembly of God, and along with the leadership, serve in pastoral care, outreach, and education of the Lakeside community. So it's a broad thing, but it is really specific. It's really to help with the pastoral care side of things. And those that have more of the gifting of teachings that are serving the lay ministers, will ask them to teach more. Those that a lot depends on your giftings. What you kind of fit. I have folks. It's interesting. Like pastoral care. Teresa Edwards. I love Teresa. Have you guys met Teresa Edwards? She's an African American gal. Really fun. Leon was on our board for a while. He stepped off just recently, I think a year or two ago. He's probably maybe up for again. But she's been like one of my favorite lay ministers because she's been a lay minister for a long time. I've heard her, and what she will do is she is a great follow-up person to the point that when I do my shut-in list, she'll pick one person off that shut-in list, and she's like cared for that person, seeing that person every single week. Develops relationship, and that's the person. I don't worry about that person. I'll call them once a month. I'll take communion to them once every 2 months, 3 months, but I don't worry about them because she's got them. She's done that twice to the point that when the person passed away, and now the person. And just recently we had Kathy Cooley, who's a long-term member here. She's probably for you, kind of phased out before you guys came to Lakeside. Very faithful. I mean, she was here when Pastor first started the church, and wonderful woman. She was in nursing home care and all that, and kind of couldn't come to church. So Jeanette Plotchett kind of took her on and was caring for her. And she would drive up the Farmington Hills. It was kind of hard for her to get out there, but she would go because her daughter had to move her out that way. Go out there about once every 2 weeks and read scripture with her and pray with her, and she took care of her. I didn't have to worry about it. And when she passed away, her daughter came in and when we did the funeral, I see, yeah, Jeanette. I know Jeanette. I've been keeping tabs on Kathy. I didn't see her for that for like almost 2 months. Because I know Jeanette says she tells you about what's going on, and you're yep. And this helps us because we can't do that type of
And
intense.
we all think saw people at all times.
Right. So if I get one or two that I can handle this. I'll take this on. I'll take on Tony Volcano, who stepped down for lay ministers because of busyness. But when he did, he was my point guy for new converts. I wouldn't call them new converts, but then he would have a class. Okay, come sit in the class and listen to about basics of Christian faith. And we get one or two. I said, I want you to have 2 or 3. I want you to have a big group. And he did a couple times. It worked out really well because he was really good at that. He enjoyed that. So it depends on giftings, purpose. There's some folks that Ed Jasinski, I bugged him again. He stepped up because he went on the board. And I said, well, do you want to come back and lay ministers? Not yet. But he was great for hospital calls. He would work on his way home from work. He worked at Chrysler at headquarters in Auburn Hills. And on his way home, he goes, I'm driving past Beaumont Troy. I'll stop. Whoever's there, I'll stop by and see. So I'd send an email or text. Hey, so-and-so's at the hospital. There's a room. Go visit him. Okay. And he would do it almost any day I need him to do it. And he'd go and visit him and pray with him and stuff. And it was great. So there's a certain people that because of their giftings, their ability, or their availability, they can do certain things. We kind of plug them in. So we told Pastor, I'm sitting in the house watching Westerns on TV. He goes, well, make you a lay minister. So qualifications are a member of Lakeside Assembly of God in good standing, evidence of faithfulness and attendance, ministry and tithe, be a mature Christian that is seen in their life and testimony, be able to represent Lakeside well in their words, action, and testimony, fully support the doctrines and teachings of Lakeside Assembly of God, fully complete the lay minister's 101 training, which is 6 sessions, not 8, be recognized by Lakeside leadership to serve as a lay minister. So you're not official lay minister until you do the whole thing for the whole congregation.
Right.
Y'all are it. You guys get cool cards or pastor signs it's a little credential thing. It doesn't. If I've done hospital calls, gone all kinds of places, and say I'm a pastor, or I've had lay ministers go say I'm a lay minister, or elders go say I'm an elder. They never ask questions. They don't say. They don't care. It does help. It does help because sometimes there's depends on with all the COVID stuff. Depends on the restriction. But if I say I'm a pastor, they'll let me in just briefly. And now you got to get out. It is.
Put the pastor on the cars.
Yeah.
The decals.
Yep.
I remember a friend of mine had an old Plymouth and he had that on there. He sold it to a guy. He said he was driving on one day and seen it sitting at the bar. He never took the decal off. So an old black gentleman, he drove by. That's my car. There's the pastor thing.
It used to be that you'd register with the hospitals with the clergy department, and
Right.
it doesn't really matter. The only thing that makes a real significant difference is that there's end of life issues. Then the visitation rules are really lifted. They don't really restrict anything unless there's active COVID involved. But so then we've had that end of life, and we just go in, don't worry about it. But that gives you kind of a fast track if you're a minister. But they never ask for credentials. You just got to say I'm a lay minister, elder, or pastor. They don't question it. But we still do that. We recognize you get a certificate, all that good stuff on that day, and that'll be May or June of this year. Relationships. Lay ministers work with the pastoral staff and report to the pastor in charge of pastoral care. That's me. Lay minister's term is 1 year and is renewed annually with the Lakeside leadership approval. It's not kept on forever. We check everything. We say, okay, you're good to commit. You're still faithful and all those things. Lay ministers are appointed under the direction and authority of Lakeside Assembly of God. The role and support of the pastoral staff and elders in the ministry of outreach, prayer, praying for the sick, caring for the needy, and building up the body of Christ. Over the time, like I said, based upon your needs, based upon your giftings. There are some people that are lay ministers that are really compassionate about, helping out with certain what I call serving type ministries, like our food pantry, whatever. That's their calling, that's their passion, that's their gifting. That's cool. We keep it broad. It's not you got to fit this niche.
That's back when I was a kid. You could get a local preacher's license.
Yep.
And I had one.
Okay. Yep.
When I was in high school.
Yep.
And but you couldn't do anything official with it.
Right.
But I did preach. But
right.
That's about it.
And the Assembly of God, you get their certification, licensed, and ordained. And the certification is kind of that basic entry level.
Yeah.
And then the license is more like what you see with a lot of pastors. But then the lay minister is kind of a step below that. It's just within the church. It's not recognized outside the church, outside of this church, and it's just something. It's a significant role.
Yeah, the Nazarene Church, you can't do weddings or anything unless you're ordained.
Right. Yeah. So role. Okay. Outreach. lay ministers serve as a primary team for altar workers, for all outreach events, drama production, special services, praise in the park, Sunday services, and more. Lay ministers help do follow up on all large outreach events with phone calls, home visits, messaging, email, and other means. Meaning, when it's kind of funny, if I call certain people on the church phone, they won't answer. If I call my cell phone, they'll answer. And I try to get everyone's cell number. I just, my wife's like, don't give my cell number. I go, everyone has my cell number. I don't care. So, it just helps me out tremendously.
Yeah.
But then, like there's some people on Facebook. We had, especially with COVID, I use Facebook a lot, Messenger and Facebook. Hey, how you doing? What are you at? You haven't been in church forever. What's going on? And we're this, we're that. We're watching, and now, we're watching online. I go, well, say hi so we know we're watching online.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of that. Or I find out but people find it easier these days to send a text than to answer a phone call.
Right.
It's easier to say, I see a text, I'll respond to text, I'll see a message, respond to message. So, I keep my network pretty broad. And so I just, so I do that. And folks say, well, I'll make this friend my friend. And okay, then I'll follow up with them. I'll text and message them. Okay, whatever works. Whatever connects with them is cool. It's, personal phone calls better, or face-to-face is best. But phone calls good.
I
But
just tell the salesman, don't just fax, I'll fax, today, I'll fax a quote over. I said, no, deliver it.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to say no
No.
in face-to-face than it is to a piece of paper.
Yep, exactly. Same with the text.
You
Same.
never know who's on the other end.
Yep. It depends on, a lot depends on relationship and so forth. Like, since I've been here for 15 years, I know a lot of the people, and
Right.
when they start wandering off on us a little bit, and I baptize their kids, they go, where are you at? What's going on? Oh, this and this and this and this. And they go, well, you need to get back in church. And a text, and again, I'll call them, I'll text them, and then I'll finally get them one way. Okay, let's just talk about this.
Sports has gotten terrible for Sunday stuff.
Yes.
By the time their daughters do, like, travel soccer,
Oh,
kids on
I tell people,
Ohio, Kentucky,
and it's not the best. It's not the best thing for the kids.
No,
It- they
I
get-
did travel baseball when I lived in Georgia, and every Sunday.
Yep. That's just worse for that.
You know.
Yep. So, anyways, so a wide variety of things. Sunday altar, lay ministers should always be ready to assist as an altar worker for new converts, prayer support during altar work calls, and during any altar call. So, it always freaks people out. If pastor calls you forward, that's one thing we give you too. We try to give the lay ministers, especially the lay ministers, a lanyard, so it says I'm a lay minister, because for one, it helps pastor out a little bit, and then just let people know. Because the problem is they stop using them, and I use your lanyards, because pastor will call down. If he calls down elders and pastors to pray for people, as a lay minister, when you're all said and done, you go. Don't wait to be said, and don't wait for him to call out lay ministers. Just go and pray. But take your lanyard, put it on, so we know what your role is. You're not there for personal prayer; you're there to minister to others, and then just to do that. It used to be, well, he'd only say like elders. Well, if he says elders, I know. I told Jordan, the other pastor, it means us too. Just go. Don't think he's got to call each one. He's old. He has a lot in his brain. All kinds of stuff. Don't worry about that. So it's just always to be there and ready to pray for people, support people in prayer. And it's just a good thing to do. Pastoral care, lay ministers assist the pastoral staff in contacting missing sheep, shut-ins, doing hospital and nursing home visits. And that's a real powerful part. Like I said, we've had some great ministry doing that over the years. Biblical basis, Matthew 22, 34 through 40 says, hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question, Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and commandments and prophets hang on these two commandments. Lay ministers reflect of loving God and serving Him and loving others. That's a core part of it. John 13:35, by this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. As lay ministers, we're asking to step up and to serve this way in our community, to show more love and show more care. And that's what it is. Pastoral care is showing love in a tangible way. 1 Peter says, as you come to him, the living stone, rejected by humans, but chosen by God and precious to him, you also, like living stones, are being built into a spiritual house, to be a holy priesthood, offering spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. For Scripture says, see, I lay a stone in Zion, a chosen precious cornerstone. The one who trusts in him will never be put to shame. Now to you who believe, the stone is precious. To those who do not believe, the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, and a stone that causes people to stumble, and a rock that makes them fall. They stumble because they disobey the message, which is also what they were destined for. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praise of him who called you out of darkness into this wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but now you are people of God. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. We're supposed to reflect that mercy and the redemption that Christ gives us. The charge is love. The natural fruit of the redeemed life in Christ is to care for those who are near us. It is not only the responsibility of the ordained, the ministry of caring for our neighbors, is one in which we are all participants. Our ministry of loving and caring for others is based upon our prior acceptance and love by God. In this new relationship, the old law is replaced by the old law of love. One way to love God is to love one's neighbor, just to do it. The love of care we address to others, given to other Christians, to those who are not members of the Christian community, whether Jew or Greek, and even not our enemies. Now, the unique thing is that when we do like hospital calls, a lot of times there's two people in the room.
Yeah.
And you go pray for somebody. This is so funny. My daughter was in the hospital. And so when she was at Beaumont in October when she had a really bad bout. And so she was when she was first there, she was in a double room. And when she first was in there, the lady that was next to her was a believer. So she asked for prayer a little bit. So she was only there for like a day. Then she got this other lady. She didn't really like the lady at first because she was just had a lot of visitors that were just loud, like a better term. And so I was praying with Beth, and then I said, "Well, do you what?" She, no, because she was Muslim and didn't want anything to do with that. I was like, "Okay." So you run in different situations, but most of the time, like Sam Giordano talks about, when he was in the same hospital, same time for some heart stuff, I went to go see him, and he had different visitors. He was there for quite some time, and he probably witnessed to I don't know how many of them, because of the opportunity. But when we go and pray with people, sometimes you get an opportunity, sometimes they want to be included. I've been in Sam. I've happened
Sam
a lot.
is the older bald gentleman.
Yes.
That's kind of across the aisle.
Yes, he used to be an elder for many, many years. He stepped down not too long ago. And yes, but that's Sam Giordano. He's been a real rock of our church, if you would.
Yeah, picked up on that.
Yep. And so he, so I was, a lot of times you go pray for people, and then while you're going, okay, I'm going to pray for this. Okay, what do you want me to pray for? I always ask, what do you want me to pray for you for? And they go, pray for this and this. And the person next to me, and pray for me too for this and this and this. Okay, we got you. And that's cool. So that's part of it. It's showing that love in community, no matter where we're at. And pastoral care is just being that. It's when you're asked to step up in this way and be charged with this way by acting in love and grace in a lot of different ways. We're going to talk about some skills with that specifically. Okay. And we're going to pause for a minute, take a restroom break, and then we'll go on the rest of this. So that's session 1. Okay?
Yep. Sounds good. The one day that we prayed at church, I didn't know to ask what to pray for.
Now,
It depends on, but oftentimes it's always good. What do you come here for? What am I praying for?
So then we prayed, and then afterwards she told us why they were there at our church, why they were at our church.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, it's because my daughter stepped away, and I'm very upset, and I don't understand. It's happened since COVID, and I had just heard from my mom, a girl that I grew up with. Her daughter was in college, came home for the winter time, for the winter break, and said to her mom, I'm not going back to college. I'm moving out of the house. Don't you dare contact me. You're not going to talk me out of anything.
Wow.
I'm moving in with so-and-so.
Right.
And that's that. And this was a Catholic girl. My girlfriend's Catholic. Her kids went to church. They grew up in the church. And my mom said, my girlfriend is just devastated, girl I grew up with. Just devastated that her daughter walked away. And I thought, we have children